Those two sunflares that caused all the cell phones to screw up today.
Probably better.
I think so.
She didn't carry it. She didn't carry it. So, Mike, Casey.
Change something different every time.
Oh, the chair?
Levers can I get
Oh,
on
yeah.
here? So, somebody needs to put out the second, and then the second just from now.
Thank you. I gotta leave you.
Yeah. Motion and second. And discuss the amendment. Yeah, we're gonna pass it either, yeah. And then we'll say whatever, yeah. Got it?
I think we do too.
How's Millie doing?
Better.
Feeling better? Good, correct? Horrible. Drop out and
Well, it's a good thing you didn't go to Juneau, Millie. Mayor made me do the stairs up from the hall to the Capitol. You ever done those stairs? Next to the parking garage of the state building? When you were younger.
They'd have to carry me.
I had to stand at the top for about 5 minutes to try and catch a breath.
Did
before
you
we could
run?
go in the
I
car.
had to take a respected break. I said, man, look at this scenery, it's just beautiful out here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, whew.
I was like, no, we'll go over to the garage and just take the elevator up, right?
Yes.
Then we walked by the stairs. They don't look that well. Josh?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Pretty good, you? Wish I had more daylight. We're getting there.
It's coming,
right?
it's coming.
Yeah, it's, pretty soon you'll have more daylight than. You gotta go home sometime. You gotta call it a day at some point in time. The customer says, I think I just want both of them. Okay. Well, you always want more daylight when you're still talking. Well, it's the mechanics. Yeah. You got the president and then the MRI and more evaluation. I'll bring you in to finish, if I end up pouring a big slab, not a big slab, 26 by 14 or something. Temporary permanent valve, right on.
Star key now. Please enter your password and press pound. Your entry, 63275, is not valid. Please enter the correct digits, then press pound. You are the chairperson. You are the first participant to join the conference. Please stand by. You will now be placed into conference.
And then she has to start a rehab program. She's gonna go down to Delaware and live with her, stay with her sister for 6 weeks. Come back here. So we got a lot of travel going on for.
And we'll assume that you.
This is mine.
Too bad too.
Surprise.
You know what's in the box?
Was it down here?
Yeah, it says City of Craig and then Timberland.
Oh.
I don't know.
All my packages are surprises.
You open it at home.
Gosh, I forget what I ordered.
That's a first. Now, whether it's me,
I'm expecting him to stay after the executive session. Do you just want me to write something down? You have your
No.
sheets too, so.
Was it?
I guess.
Anything on
That's probably a lot less.
There's one actually.
That was yours.
Oh, it's right.
So, I'll make a note here.
Miles,
That's all.
7 days, that you walk every morning almost.
I'm actually doing that hard.
That's, okay, Karen had said something I didn't want to ask.
Yeah,
Because they've been doing it for like 6 months of 3 miles a day or whatever.
yeah, 75 hard is
And
like
if you
2 workouts a day, 1 has to be outside.
could.
Can't drink, be on the diet. You have to read 10 pages a day.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole list of stuff.
Wow, so you read a packet a day, huh? Or
Or you have to start over.
council back in the day.
You need more?
Or half of one a day.
Day 52.
You can put more in if you want.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah, the last one.
Right.
Not that big,
Just
right?
go before, it's very, yeah, abandon it again.
Shauna, you walked in and you got really quiet.
Oh my gosh.
Good, yeah. But we weren't talking about John.
There was a lot of noise, yes. Yeah. A lot of ruckus. Can you feel it upstairs? Not really feel it, it was just a lot of noise and my desk was right by the
John
window,
knows.
so it was like,
John knows what seat to sit in.
yeah.
Very bright lights shining through my back window now.
Lots of experience.
Yeah.
Oh, because there's no trees?
No, because they put those new LEDs on, and right on that back of that shed, it's about this big, and my whole place is lit up like Fort Knox. Looks like Fort Griswold. The other night, I thought it finally died, and it like went dark, and I'm like, oh, it's dark in my bedroom, then it started flashing on and off, and then stayed on, and I'm like, told Hans I'm gonna put a nice light pole on Thomas Court for him right next to his bedroom.
Save on lights, you don't have to use them.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely saving on power for sure.
Is it against the rules for an AT&T employee?
Every time my in-laws leave, I plug in electric heaters and lights in their house for the whole time they're gone. Someone should help me make it today, right?
Yeah. I've got 6:30, so when do you want to start, Mr. Mayor?
Alrighty, call the meeting to order at 6:30. You want to take the roll call here?
Hannah Bazinet here, Shauna Thomas here, Josh Bennett,
Here.
Michael Kempnich,
Here.
Chanel McKinley, Millie Schoonover.
Here.
Moving to the consent agenda. Anybody entertain a motion?
Move to adopt. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right. Moving on to the hearing from the public. Open for.
I'll go first, just to get it over with. My name's Lonnie. Most of you know me. Yeah, all of you know me. Okay.
Hold on 1 second, while you're actually not showing up in here, please.
Okay, I'm just here to remind the residents of Craig that many of us here in Craig isn't just our home, but it's also our history and our ancestral land. Our parents and our grandparents are indigenous to this land. Of course, we want a piece of it back. Our cultural identity has been slowly stripped away in this community, and sadly, my parents' generation don't have as strong as a connection to their ancestral roots as their grandparents. I could go on and on about generational trauma caused by losing cultural identity, but I don't have enough time. Craig was a Haida village first. Those of us that have this connection to this land, to our ancestral land of our grandparents, are not trying to segregate or destroy or take anything away from the integrity of this community, but add to it and to contribute to what is already ours. By having something and somewhere to go to be proud of and teach and grow our culture and give our children pride in who they are. It's about more than just a piece of land. It's about the purpose. It's a really hard pill to swallow and not take personal when Miss Stanley herself said that they've been working on this for 18 years. 18 years now that this land has sat here stagnant. 18 years and the tribe comes forward with a plan, and now it's a problem. But it wasn't when it just sat here for all this time. All of a sudden, we shouldn't make hasty decisions. To me, many true colors have been shown, and my eyes are wide open. I am in support of the land sale because not only will it benefit the people of this land, but the community as well, and many as well as it has for many other communities that have benefited from their cultural heritage centers and buildings throughout Alaska, throughout the tourism industry and whatnot. I will also add that I'm very disappointed in the way the meeting was projected to the community by the zoning and planning, the council, the mayor, the administrator, the administration. It was very new library versus tribal land. So what a shame, because there's plenty of land and resources to have both. Instead, it felt like we needed to choose one over the other. Once again, dividing our community instead of bringing us together for both causes that are very important resources to our community and would serve us well on each end. I also want to close with a quote from our last mayor. His words: "Our land is limited in Craig, and we can't afford to let this land sit idle. We need to have interest and use of it as a resource. Use it as a resource. Our land shouldn't sit idle." That's it.
Thank you, Lonnie. Next.
I'd like to go. My name is Rob Yates. My father, Ralph Yates, used to be mayor here 80 years ago. He married my mother, Ethel Elizabeth Carl. She was Haida. They went on to have 17 children, the largest family here in Craig. I'm number 16. My baby sister, Carla's number 17. Her joke is always, thank God Mom and Dad didn't stop at having 16 kids. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been born. There was 3 Haida sites right here in Craig. Cannery Point. There's a picture in the Craig Tribal Hall of Cannery Point, circa 1900, and there's like 20 huts and tents and canoe runs. And then directly west, at the very southern tip of Fish Egg, was a Haida village. The potato gardens and strawberry gardens are still there. There's a Haida petroglyph facing Sanahay. It's not actually facing Sanahay, it's facing the rising sun. It's giving thanks for a new day and asking the sun to help their gardens grow. And we used to have solemnized ceremonies where you gave thanks for each new day. The other Haida site was at the lagoon. My grandmother's longhouse was there. They had a big longhouse, a big smokehouse Where the ballpark is now is where their gardens were. And Fred's dad, Fred Hamilton Sr., remembers his family having gardens there also. And in 1913, the U.S. Forest Service took over Craig. And while our family was wintering in Howcan, the U.S. Forest Service took over. We weren't residents, we weren't citizens on our own traditional land. That didn't come about until 1924, I don't think. So while they were wintering in Howcan, their lot got divvied up and sold to non-natives. When they tried to win it back, well, according to the paperwork, it was all legal. But my grandmother fought for many years trying to get the property back at the lagoon, and to no avail. They had, the U.S. Forest Service was very prejudiced. He took my uncle's longhouse that was on Forster Island, which is even more sacred to us. We call it Chana, grandfather. And they took his longhouse down and they built a trolling camp for the few Norwegians that were here at the time. And hiders that fished close to shore where all the fish were penalized and sent to court. And we have the letter proof of this that was sent to Washington, D.C. So for decades, we've been fighting colonization, displacement, marginalization. I think a beautiful longhouse at Cannery Point would be a boost to Craig. I don't think it should cause division. I don't think we should have to stand and fight for it, but we will if we have to. I could see, you know, a beautiful longhouse on the cover of the Prince of Wales Island Guide, a boost to tourism. And the land was originally ours to begin with. And I really hope we have a Haida longhouse there.
Thank you. If you were involved in the meeting there between planning and zoning and the council earlier, there was not one person that objected to having a longhouse, our carving shed, our museum on the site. It was about 50-50 discussion with the people of what's the way they wanted to see the land purchased or leased, but that was just discussion in between public comment of people that were here before, as well as there was discussion on the development. The planners have been working on that site, not of course for a carving shed, but there has been a spot that it was designated on their plan set for this exact reason. So there was discussion of libraries and so on and so forth, because it'll start looking to start developing it for other stuff as well as. But I was really happy with the way, honestly, the meeting went with. There was not one person that opposed this projected longhouse and carving shed and museum. So I appreciate everybody here. So anybody else have anything to say on the subject? Mr. Duville.
Ed Duville for Shaughnessy Corporation. I submitted a letter earlier. I'm sure you have all seen it, but I just wanted to voice our support for this land sale. You've already heard all the good things that could come from it, and I think it would be a great benefit to the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Jones. I'm the tribal president in Kasan, and I'm here on behalf of my village, Haida Village, in support of my brothers and sisters here in Craig. So I carry that with me in support of the tribe for this land sale. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Mm-hmm.
President Cook.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go off subject first. As most of you know, there's a lawsuit facing Southeast Alaska that's going to possibly involve the king salmon becoming endangered. That's far at most a priority to get that overturned. History of endangered species makes us prey of that king salmon and could possibly impact thousands of lives. I don't know if the city has been notified of that or what their stance will be. Craig Tribal Association along with Clinton Haida is going to take an advanced step towards protecting our resource. There's a couple of meetings we're attending to start collaborating with Northwest affiliated tribes out of Washington, Oregon, California, and Idaho to help stop the conservationists from putting clamps on our resource. Second, I'd like to talk about Ketchikan, the rural status application at the CLOAC meeting. Mayor Smith spoke against it. I was curious if the city was going to produce a resolution opposing that rural status application. Our resources here are already maximum capacity with what we have here. Our resources can't handle the community of Ketchikan coming over and trying to take resources from our area of Prince of Wales Island. Lastly, I would like to talk about Cannery Point. I wasn't here during the meeting. I was traveling for the tribe, but I did get some footnotes about what's happening and answered them on paper. They were just basic questions. There's issues with the sale or the size. Well, I had to get a drone shot from a surveyor to even get a plat of that because the city hasn't done really anything with that portion of land. It actually took a little bit of time to find the right piece of paper to put the application on. I think we'll enhance our community, and it's culture heals, and this culture will help our community when there's times of healing that's needed. I think it'd be a great asset to the community of Craig. There's been people ask, are you guys going to lock it out from the community? Absolutely not. Everybody goes to the tribal hall for functions. We don't keep you out of there. It'll be open to the public, be a community venue, and something we can all be proud of. I've spoke many times, we're a community tribe. We make decisions that are best suited for our community. From roads to sidewalks, to helping with the EMS, police station, communications. And we always help the kids. No matter what we do, we sponsor all of our kids. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Clinton. And I did make a comment in that meeting that I hope wasn't misconstrued about the size of the cell. And it wasn't against the selling a certain square footage. It was that the layout of it would have to take longer in planning and zoning to run utilities through that area because of the nature of the size of the development. And there was already an area that had been designated, and knowing that we had talked about trying to get this going as soon as this summer, that is when I asked if we were able to designate that smaller area to the tribe that wouldn't be running those sewer and water and utilities through that we wouldn't have to worry about, then maybe we could agree on that area sooner and get that spearheaded through so we could actually get some of the stuff that we've talked about in a faster period rather than running it through planning and zoning with all the utilities and everything like that, and then come to the table a little bit later for a bigger section of land
once because since that land is unsubdivided at this point, the subdivision of the land is gonna take some time. And since it already was on the original plot with basically the cultural center in that location, I was like, well, is there any way that we could fast track this with this location without having to go through the planning and zoning? So I did make that suggestion just so we can get, you know, a totem down there this summer, a longhouse, a carving shed, going sooner rather than trying to go through the process. So I hope I wasn't misinterpreted because this is all new to me with going through the planning and zoning. I did make that comment, but that is something that could be maybe talked about, especially with the council, and look forward to appreciate everything we do as a community, and look forward to doing more. Happy tribes, healthy tribes, healthy community.
I also make a comment?
Yes.
Off I clipped it. I'm assuming, well, I just want to personally point out that what you said about being locked out probably was from my comment that I made at the last council meeting, and I just want to make sure that it's not reflecting on the rest of the council members and that it wasn't taken differently. The thing that I brought up was that because you guys keep mentioning a carving shed, I asked if that it would be native preference like you guys do with your classes at the CTA, or if that it would be open to all tourists and things like that. So that's all that I mentioned. So I don't know if that footnote was taken differently that you received, but I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't in any way that we feel like we're being locked out of certain areas. It was just, I was just wondering if it would be a native preference like you guys do at your classes. And then also I wanted to bring up, I've heard a lot of comments saying that things haven't been done with the Cannery Point or discussed, and I feel like that's really taking credit away from the people, the Planning and Zoning Committee, the previous commissioners, a lot of the volunteers that have put time and effort in towards discussing the cannery, the harbor, trying to zone, trying to make what's best for the community from previous years. So I just wanted to let you guys know that there has been discussion. People have definitely put in hours and time into Cannery Point and the harbor, and I just don't want to discredit all that time that has been put into that as well, because it hasn't just been sitting dormant and not thought of. So I just wanted to put that out there for the public and to be put in the notes. Yeah.
Yes.
If I may, I just want to speak in favor of the sales, not only as a tribal member, but as a lifelong community member of Craig. I was born in Kawak, raised in Craig. So technically, I've lived in Craig 67 years. I've seen people come, people go, people buy land, people do a lot of things, but they've never ever disrespected the indigenous people, the people that were here first. And just throw that out there. And we are good keepers of our land. If we weren't good keepers of our land, all these people wouldn't be moving here. Obviously, they liked Craig, liked our people, or they wouldn't be here. So just want to put that out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I also speak in favor of the new longhouse. I think it's something a community could really benefit from, everybody in the community. And like was stated, this is going to be a community building. Nobody will be kept out of it. It's for us all. And I think Craig needs a buzz, and this would definitely give Craig a buzz. I think it's a good project, and I speak in favor of it. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm John Bolton. I live here in Craig. I'm glad to see the city council considering development options with Cannery property. It's a valuable public asset, and it's got a lot of great potential. And as the council weighs options for developing the site, I encourage you to keep your development plan current and refer to it frequently as you consider options for the property. And at least for the time being, I'd recommend that council take a lease-only approach to users on the property at the cannery. You know, the city went through a lot of rigmarole to get financing for the property, required an act of Congress and signature by the president to put the city in a position to finance it. We're not going to get that opportunity again. So the city has a long track record of successfully leasing property, both big and small, to ongoing businesses. And I think that's a model that could fit well down at the cannery property. It gives both sides what they want. It gives the developer a chance to put in whatever improvements he's proposing, in this case the longhouse, which I think has a lot of merit. And it allows the city to retain ownership and ultimately management control of the property, not just at the site where the proposed longhouse will be, but for the whole cannery site. I think that's an important consideration. I'd encourage the council to proceed with approval to negotiate a lease of the property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm opposed, greatly opposed to, if there's going to be a Sacred Height longhouse, it has to be on land that's owned by the tribe. Cannery Point is sacred to us. To lease us the land, then it doesn't feel as sacred. Whereas if the tribe owned the land, then we could have a Sacred Haida longhouse. If it's leased, you know, what if the city decides to stop leasing it to us for some reason? Then what happens to the Sacred Haida longhouse? Would it have to be disassembled and moved elsewhere? We don't want that. You guys need to know the term sacred. And a sacred longhouse cannot be on leased land. Thank you.
Council might want to consider creating a park there and allowing the longhouse to be built on a park that is owned by the community. And or a lease option, like he says. Because if that land is put into trust, which has been attempted several times, it removes it from the tax base in Craig. We can't afford to lose more land out of the tax base. We're already limited and surrounded by corporation's land that we don't get any. Now, if the corporation wants to trade the city land for that piece of land, that's something you might consider. But just an out-and-out sale is questionable because that still is key to development of that area. And if you look at our concept drawings that were done 3 years ago, those concept drawings did include a longhouse site there. Because it was discussed with Sean Seat whether or not they would want to put a longhouse there, or whoever was going to do it would be nice. But sale of it is something that needs to really be looked at awfully hard. If nothing else, put on a ballot for the initiative for the next election.
Thank you. Tim O'Connor, please, if you just take your name for the record when you speak. Mr. Clinton Cook.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was a lot of opposition in this room when the Craig tribe was successful in their application for putting land in the trust. 1330 Craig Clock Highway divided the city and the tribe. And that's too bad. You guys should be very proud of a tribe that is able to do this accomplishment. 230 federally recognized tribes in Alaska. And the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Department of Interior chose Craig for what we have done in our community. And we will do the same thing with the Longhouse. We're not planning on putting the land in the trust. But I agree with Robbie. Leases can be broke. It's proven.
Treaties.
It's proven. June's right. They call us a treaty tribe. Still waiting on the treaty. 1938. So it's not a place to argue. Taxes, no taxes, trust land. We've been down that road. And for everybody's information, we purchased Amy's cabins, and we do pay a tax. We pay the tax on the sale of the room, and we pay the bed tax, just like every Airbnb in Craig. The property is not taxed, but we still pay and collect taxes for the city of Craig on the sales of the rooms and the bed tax. And that's something that creates us the ability to have running water or to call a cop. I know what taxes do. And we pay the taxes we have to pay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to talk and make clarification as far as a lease goes. If you were to buy a home and not buy the land, you're not going to be able to get a loan. The same thing applies to grants, or if we decide to get a loan to build this, we're not going to be able to achieve that with leased land. And I would like to also do a clarification on, for tribal members only, that only applies. We had our very first culture camp this last summer, and it was open to everyone. I mean, we had tourists there, we had people from Heidelberg, we had people from Busan, we had people from Hawaii, we had people from everywhere. The only time we do tribal members only is if the funding is federal, because if it's a grant, it'll state for tribal members only. But we do our best to include everyone, so I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, sir.
I just want to go off of that. I didn't say tribal members only. I just said tribal members preference. So saying that if 10 people signed up and there was only 5 spots and 6 of those people were Haida, Tlingit, members of the CTA, most likely, right? They would see who signed up first and pick out of the native preference first before offering it to the rest. That's just like with your guys' blanket class that's coming up. It says in the thing that that they would have that native is going to be first before everybody else. That's all I was saying.
That's a Tlingit and Haida sponsored event.
Right, yeah. But I'm just saying you guys have certain things that go through that, which would be the same if you guys had the carving shed, right? Like we got this grant to do this carving thing, and it because it went through Tlingit and Haida, we have to do this native preference first. That's all it is. I'm not saying that you guys don't offer that to people that aren't part of the CTA or Tlingit and Haida. I just want to make sure that nobody is taking my words as saying any other thing.
Call for the orders of the day.
I just, clarify on that, federally recognized tribes, the, federal government recognized efforts first on, on all of it. And that was the whole point of those programs and so on and so forth, not looking at trying to have any segregation or anything like that, but, preference is, it will be preference first.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. I think
Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
Just if we can get
Yes.
to the set agenda.
Yes,
Which is
any,
public-
any,
public
any new comments, from any of the new members that have walked in or who may be on Zoom or on the phone, that would like to talk something? Thank you.
Wendy Hamilton. Most of you know me because I manage the office at the Chamber of Commerce, but I'm not here as a Chamber of Commerce representative. I'm here as a non-native resident of Craig, Alaska. And I want to say that I really am for the sale of the land. The reason why I'm for the sale of the land, because it only makes sense to have native longhouse on native property, not on the city of Craig property. I want to say that fishing is a big pull to this island and brings in a lot of tourism. We're trying to divert some of that fishing to other parts of tourism, to native cultural, native arts, fishing, not fishing, birding, as well as bicycling. And we've done things and we've made advances in those areas. I just want to say that I am in support of the sale for those reasons.
All right, thank you.
My name's Felicia Dupe. I work at CTA. Theoretically speaking, I was carving with my uncle a couple of years before he died, and he taught me how to carve, and it really helped and healed me. And we've had 3 teen suicides in our town record to this date. There's nothing open for them. I mentioned to Justin, hey, I would like to open that every night. I'd like to open the carving shed for everybody, for all the kids, so kids could come and learn and be a part of and have somewhere to go and heal. And she said, that was a great idea. We need something for our kids. That would be the best thing. They could heal. There's nothing else open and available. I don't know how to carve, but I'll do my damnedest to make sure we don't have another attempt in this town. And I think that needs to be looked at more than anything else. So that's my comment. I am supportive 100%. I just want to reiterate what Rob said about the Cannery Point originally being our ancestral land and belonging to the Haidas in the first place. We're only trying to buy a piece of our land back. That way our sacred longhouse can actually be sacred on our land and not leased, so the city can still have control. Some people are very worried about the city becoming tribally run or tribally taken over. You're in a community that has tribal members. You know, we're a very diverse community, and most of us embrace each other for our differences. This is supposed to bring us together, not divide us and make us go back and forth who's going to get what. This is very upsetting for me. And I'm just saying, you know, we just want something for our children, for ourselves, for our generational trauma and what's been taken from us. Because it's been proven in many studies that our cultural identity taken from us has caused generational trauma just in my family. It runs down the line, and I'm trying to heal that. But we need our own things, and not to take away from the community or take away from people who aren't Tlingit and Haida, because we embrace you. Like, you know, my husband's white, my children are white, my best friends are white. Like, we're all family here. We all love each other, like, so much. And there's so much bad things going on right now in this community. You guys have no idea how it's affecting me just now. My daughter is up in Anchorage with her boyfriend fighting for his life. He's 19 years old, and we're sitting here arguing about who's what. Like, just please remember, we are a community that should be surrounding each other and taking care of each other, and that's it. Lifting each other up. This is a great thing, and it's supposed to be a great thing. And that's it.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be a great thing, and hopefully that we however the lease or the sale or just longhouse takes plan, everybody is for it. And it would be, I want this to be a positive thing in the community, and hopefully we can go through the planning process, and no matter what, this is a positive thing in the community, and I'd like to just move forward in a positive direction. There's still a lot of stuff to figure out. We've got this on an agenda and an ordinance, so we can discuss this on how it moves forward. And I thank everybody for for the comments today, and we'll move forward into reading the correspondence. If the council has nothing else to say, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, I would like to, there's a couple things I'd like to share. First, I know the city has owned this property for about 20 years now. There was a lot of effort put into consideration of development and opportunity for the property. The city was, when we purchased the property, it was with a community vision in mind that would benefit the community as a whole. And we wanted to make sure that it stayed with the community. I mean, I sat in these meetings for 30-some years, 40 years, but near 30-some. So I want to get back to the planning and zoning process that began about 20 years or so ago, 18 years ago. Nothing has happened since we purchased the property. There was a lot of discussion about what to do. There was all kinds of ideas suggested about what to do with this property. I have not seen personally one suggestion that I felt merited serious consideration until this farmhouse. I think this is the first project that has come to the city as something that we can do down there. It fits the land, fits the community, and it is an addition here. And I've been on record supporting this since this discussion began 2-3 years ago, whatever it was. So I do want to acknowledge or, basically defend planning and zoning. I think it's actually good that we didn't just start winging things out there and doing crazy things, because that's not good use of the land. This is an appropriate use of the land. So there was nothing wrong with patience in waiting to do what's right, waiting to make a good project. And then in terms of, the indigenous precedents on that point, it's my opinion that indigenous precedents has probably been established on that point for as long as herring has been spawning on Fishing Island.
We're all passionate about this, so we could have, we're gonna have much more talk and discussions about this in the future. So if anybody else has nothing to say, we'll move forward and see you again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Yes.
The council doesn't have any, whatever discussion you want to have about correspondence. There are 2 items in the correspondence that are kind of request letters. So just if there's any direction from the council. The first one is the letter, the email from Promos on Time Sports. So the school is putting together these t-shirts, I assume partially as fundraiser and partially as promotions. And so the vendor has reached out to us and asked if we want to be included as a sponsor. So the council has donation money in the budget under council discretionary funds, and there's enough money here to support. There's enough money in those funds that haven't been expended this year to support some support of the t-shirts. So if the council's interested, I would recommend either the 4.5 by 4.5 on the sleeve or the 4 by 4 on the back. And I only suggest that because our logo is a circle and it fits in a square better than it does in a rectangle. And those are the only 2 square sizes. So if the council's interested, the money's already appropriated for donations. We can move forward.
Yeah,
the sleeve one okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, in the future, I want to get a hold of this company. I see they've done t-shirts across the island. There's $6,643 worth of advertisements on this shirt. These people who make these shirts are from out of state. They make their money by selling the advertisements out of the businesses, and they donate the shirts to the schools for them to do what they would like. When I was in high school, we used to do an activities poster, and Ketchikan actually was making the activities poster, donating it to the school, and they made the funds off of the advertisements that they had done around that activities poster. We had an entrepreneurship class. I sold $8,000 worth of advertisement. That 100% of it went to the school. And the rest of, we paid Ketchikan Printing Company to print off the activities poster. Before that, those funds were actually going to Ketchikan Printing Company for selling those advertisements into the community. I've seen these shirts. I'm for this, but I would like to find, I actually tried on my company email to email promos, and I was unable to go through on my email from the city to see how much of these funds actually go to the school, because it doesn't say that in the sponsorship letter. It just says they give us t-shirts and we can sell them, so on and so forth. We have a local printing shop here that I would encourage the school to look after their students in a classroom atmosphere, to sell local advertisement to the local businesses and start doing these shirts locally, where 100% of those funds, as well as teaches the students to reach out to the businesses, shows them how to talk on the phone, so on and so forth, and it could provide a lot more income for the student athlete in Craig, rather than part of the funds going to the people who are making the shirts. So this has been on my agenda for a few years, but I have seen these, and honestly, I'm seeing Craig still one of the schools that are, one of the only schools that are still doing it on Prince of Wales. I see a lot of the other schools have they've moved away from it, but I am for funding, but buying advertisement. But I would like to see, especially with the, the school, and talking to these guys and seeing how much of this return is actually going back into the athletic program in the school, because they're selling advertisement, but they're not saying how much is actually going back into the school. But so I did have this on my list on one of the things I was going to bring up in this meeting. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, council.
And the other letter is the one from Search regarding the prescription produce program. I think I'm not familiar with the program, but based on the information that Search sent out, it looks like a good program, and I'd like to put a support letter together if there's no objection from the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you haven't read that letter basically promotes produce in the months rather than the summer months to the people in need to reach out to supply them with produce. It's a grant. I actually sent out an email to the council earlier this week, because the deadline is tomorrow for a letter of support, just to get a letter of support out to them before tomorrow when they apply for this grant application. So it's a great program that we have the opportunity and to support. So thank you guys.
That's all I had as correspondence. Thank you, council.
Mr. Mayor, just a heads up, there's also a letter in here from the Forest Service about the forest plan revision that is in kind of initiating the process. I think that there's nothing asked of us right now, but it's important that we pay attention to it. It's my belief that perspectives have evolved on the island quite a bit, in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And being involved with this plan and helping the Forest Service forward with perspectives that, respect the environment and respect local opportunity and usage of our forests. I think that's critical. I think that that's a broad consensus today across the island. And I just want that we need to pay attention to this and weigh in when we have the opportunity.
And I'm on the Forest Service's email list on the project, so I'll be providing updates to the council and opportunities to comment as they come up.
Yeah, and I did mention the Forest Service. That plan hasn't been updated since 1997. Back when I used to work at OVK, there was the access management plan that basically inventoried the roads that were still remaining on POW that we can access, and they naturally, one way or another, through slides or alders or something like that, close themselves out. And so we're losing those road miles, but they're not taking them off of our actual subsistence inventories for us to do our hunting and gathering. And with the new rules of basically every mile of road that they build, they water bar out. There's a gate out there at the mine at Calder that's cutting off 43 miles of access that we could actually be utilizing for hunting, gathering, and subsistence. That they haven't taken that inventory off of our access management road miles. So as these roads, there's probably about 780 to 800 miles of road that the Forest Service maintain on a 3-year process with their roadside brushers. So I asked the Forest Service, since they've got a lot of new changeover, if we could start looking at programs and stuff like that, that we can start, you know, the weigh in on in that last PowPac meeting that we had here in Craig. Because our roads go right along with our timber. So, thanks, Mike.
Just so the council is aware, I think a few of you are, but there is a committee established in the Southeast. It's a cross-section of people. Actually, it's not a committee. It's a forum. The Forest Service sponsors it. It's called the Tongass Transitional Collaborative. I am a member of that. Mike Duville is a member of that. There's a cross-section of interests that are part of this. You have industry, communities, indigenous presence, you know, others, fisheries presence. Anyways, we've been meeting for about a year and a half on various aspects of the previous plan and what a new plan should look like. And just sharing that I have been on this committee for a while, and my focus is on the environment and making sure that future generations have the same opportunities that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any, if I have any more comments on reading the correspondence? Hearing none, move on to consideration of resolutions and ordinances. Ordinance 767, adoption of FY 27 supplemental operating budget.
Approve the second and final reading of ordinance number 767, fiscal year 2023 supplemental budget.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I would like to say I'd like the bullet points that, help clarify this. I really appreciated that, where the highlights are, where the surpluses were, where the shortcomings were, and how some of the transitions and funding, to help work through all that. It simplifies what is a pretty in-depth piece of data. So I really appreciated that from our treasurer.
Yes. Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we're going to be having a meeting with the school about funding. I know this is an operational budget. I know we're looking at, I'm assuming this isn't going to affect any of the funds, just operational budget.
And this supplemental budget is actually for last fiscal year.
Okay.
So after the end of the fiscal year, the finance department balances out all of the expenses and budget from the whole previous fiscal year. So this budget is closed. So this really doesn't have anything to do with the upcoming discussions or budget process.
All those in favor of accepting resolution?
For the budget?
I'm sorry?
Yes, it is a roll call vote.
Roll call
Thank you.
for the budget?
Yep.
For roll calls, yeah.
Hannah Bazinet?
Yes.
Shauna Thomas? Yes. Josh Bennett?
Yes.
Michael Campbell?
Yes.
Shana McKinley?
Yes.
Nellie Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add real quick, even though it's only one page, Mike hit the nail on the head. This is an extremely complicated process. This is Kimber's first supplemental budget as the city treasurer, and I think she did an excellent job.
Thank you, Kimber.
Thank you.
Moving forward is the ordinance 768 CTA land purchase. Entertain a motion for discussion.
Move to adopt ordinance 768.
Second?
Any discussion on ordinance 768?
The comment I have, or the vision I have, I think that we need to be very conscientious about following the process where people have, an opportunity to weigh in a broader basis than this. There's going to be a tremendous amount of work that will need to be done to consider planning, what other activities down there will be, what we hope to accomplish down there, where utilities go. There's a tremendous amount of work to do to even, take an action. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to follow a good public process. I was not here during the previous council meeting, especially the joint meeting between the planning and zoning and the council. And, people, public that showed up, and my understanding is, and I did read the newspaper article and talk to other people, there was a general agreement that there was a lot of work to do in order to put this together and figure it out. I feel that's extremely important considering the different perspectives that are out there on this. And I do have an amendment to the motion that I want to make. I'll let other people, express their concerns or thoughts or whatever. I do have an amendment I would like to offer.
I do like what you say about being able to lay everything out, because we've seen in cities where they don't plan and zone properly beforehand, and then their city's more pieced together than a nice smooth layout. And I believe it was you, Josh, that brought up that you would like to see it zoned as well beforehand, right? Like a good, if you're building.
I stated to the zoning and planning that
Yeah.
if they went with a historical route, that there would be a strict guidelines, and then anything culturally can be outside of that guideline.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned that they might do a historical, and if they're gonna do that, stick with it. Don't let anything get out, LED lights, but anything culturally, you can't do a historical. It doesn't work.
I had a comment. I think I was at that meeting, and I believe there are 6 or 7 meetings already scheduled with planning and zoning concerning the concept of that land. So I thought they did a great job on already. All of them are open to the public. They're at all different times of the day. So people that need to go on their lunch break can, people that, get off at 5 can, or even later. There's some that I think at 6:30 or 7 maybe. I thought they did a great job at trying to accommodate a wide variety of people and their schedules.
And I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, I think the only thing that we all heard there for sure during the group meeting is, it's been said tonight, access. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed the thought of the boardwalk. So as long as if this thing was chopped up and everyone had a piece, individual entities, I think that with zoning and planning, that the boardwalk themes stay in place, and maybe that parcel owner takes care and maintains their own boardwalk area. That's the only thing, because as my family, we like to walk the loop, as we all have.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on, which there was a lot of time put into this and with the planning and zoning throughout the years and hours and years of meetings. And so there was a whole list of stuff that was written up on what the community had talked about, on what they had, and the boardwalk all the way around the facility was one of them. I'd like Mike to finish what he was saying with his, you mentioned an amendment.
Yeah, so it's,
Just open this one and do your amendment, right?
well, the amendment would come first.
Okay.
Yeah, you actually got to talk to over a little bit, but.
Is there any other, I don't want to curtail anybody's opportunity.
No, if we want to continue discussion, but I just wanted to have you, I felt like respect, let you finish what you were saying before we kept moving on. But,
okay. Section 3, effective date. The present ordinance reads, this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon adoption. I would like to move to change that to effective date This ordinance shall be effective upon completion and report from the Craig Planning Commission as to development scenarios for the property as a whole, with specific consideration for the proposed sale or lease of property identified by the Craig Tribal Association as a site for establishment of a longhouse, carving shed, and museum. Report should be submitted to the city no later than July 31st. The reason I chose that date is based on the article. It says up to 10 meetings. So between now and July, you got 5 months. That's 2 meetings a month. We're talking about a lot of work in 5 months' time. If we adhere to a schedule of 2 meetings a month, that's a lot of work. Anyways, that's my.
Can I make a copy of that for the mayor and council members? That's gonna be a long amendment if it gets.
I have a copy. If it gets adopted, I have a copy to share.
Let Mary reread that one for me.
And I can reread it again so that it's clear,
Yes.
a little slower. This ordinance shall be effective upon completion and report from the Craig Planning Commission as to development scenarios for the property as a whole, with specific consideration for the proposed sale or lease of property identified by the Craig Tribal Association as a site for establishment of a longhouse, carving shed, and museum. Report would be required, or it should be submitted by July 31st, 2024.
Isn't the motion for the like sale?
You can amend the motion, and then with the amended motion, we would to have a discussion if we entertain a motion and second a motion to entertain the amendment, and then we will discuss the amendment, and if it gets voted on and approved, or if it doesn't get seconded, it dies, but so it's an ordinance.
This is just an ordinance to negotiate.
Yeah, good.
But his amendment is including the sale and or lease.
It's just to ensure that a public process occurs. That's all I'm asking, is that the planning and zoning go through the process that you've referenced, and that negotiations for a sale or a lease should not commence prior to getting a full report. So it's just ensuring that the public process is followed.
Which is what we were saying, that's what you were saying, right, about like having the meeting set up prior to, so it's already pretty much, so he's just saying that you just kind of want it in words too, right?
Yeah, and what it does is just ensures that there's a lineal process of how this whole thing goes, which I think is really part of what we should be doing, but it just puts it into the ordinance, because that's the recognized process.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mark, will you read it one more time for us? I know that it's a long one. I'm just trying to be able to hear all the words properly.
This ordinance shall be effective upon completion and report from the Craig Planning Commission as to the development scenarios for the property as a whole, with specific consideration for the proposed sale or lease of property identified by the Craig Tribal Association as the site for establishment of a longhouse, carving shed, and museum. Report shall be submitted by July 31st, 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with most of what Mike said, but on here, it says second reading ordinance 768, application to purchase city property located at Track A, USS 1429 Ward Cove, Cambry. So Mike has the word sale or lease, but this says purchase.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
In the-
There's a motion on the floor that needs to be seconded before discussion's open.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier when we were discussing it, we would entertain a motion and then second it. If it gets seconded, then we will start discussion on
I think Mike has made the
on the
motion.
amendment.
So he needs a second?
And a second doesn't indicate agreement or approval. A second just puts it on the floor for discussion.
Are there anybody with a second on Mike's motion? Hearing none?
I'll second.
No second?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, you were the first one to make the motion, so I'll give you the chance to speak, and then you're the second, and I'll give you a chance to speak if you would like, and,
I'm pretty sure everyone can speak.
yeah, you can have it when you make the motion. Normally, Robert's rules, who made the motion and who seconded the motion is usually ones who speak on the motion first, and then we move on. Mike has spoke his piece, and if you want to speak next, you're more than welcome to. If not, we'll move forward to one of the other council members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you speak, can I get a copy of that, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to keep reading it.
Yeah, we'll make some copies of that.
Thank you.
Open for discussion. Anybody who wants to open for discussion, so open this time. Oh, no, nobody, I offered, nobody had spoke up.
I will second it because I think that I like some of the, like Millie said, I like some of the wording that Mike used for section 3. So I seconded it to be able to discuss that entertainment. And one of the words that I do like in there is, I'm sorry, I had him read it like 3 times and now we're reading it. There was one word in there, but it definitely where it was that the CTA or that the CTA that's what the discussion is for the land for lease sale, was that it was. I'm really trying, yeah, I've been painting a lot today with a lot of doors closed, so, sorry guys. Yeah, I really like that, and I also like that there is a end date put in there, because even though that we have, planning and zoning has set up multiple meetings, that doesn't mean that they are required to have an end date. And with this amendment to the ordinance, there is a date to where they have to have something presented to us so that we can proceed with the land sale or lease to the CTA. So those are 2 of the things that I did like in there, even though we don't know what that first word is, so. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Okay, my Robert's rules already just kicked in.
Okay.
Normally, if there is a motion made in second, and if there's an amendment, the person that made the motion and the person that seconded the motion has to agree with the amendment, and we skip that process.
Well, I do second it, I do agree with the amendment. Just because I like that it's a little bit more detailed than the ordinance should be affected immediately. So, thank you for clarifying that more.
And I don't agree with the whole thing, so I just have to not agree, because you either agree or disagree, and I disagree.
Yes, and we'll
As a motion maker.
yeah, okay, yes, absolutely, and I may be mistaken when I read the Robinson rules. The person who makes the motion has to agree with it. The person who seconded the motion doesn't have to. You can put it on the table for discussion, but.
Not for an amendment, Mr. Mayor. Any member of the body can make a motion to amend a motion that's on the floor. It's not tied to the maker or seconder of the original motion. It's its own motion.
Yes.
The amendment is its own motion.
Yes.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. I've been working with, you know how many conventions I attend?
Too many.
I agree. But no, that's not right. When there's amendment, oh my God, Brian, you ought to go to some of the conventions when they do 3, 4, 5, 6 amendments. It'll drive you nuts. Because each time you've got to go through the whole process. Unless there's a later Robert's Rules of Order that I haven't seen, but it's always been done. If there's an amendment, the motion, the person that made the motion and the person that seconds it has to agree, or it's dead.
And I think what you're referring to, Millie, is what people commonly refer to as a friendly amendment, which is not really a Robert's Rules of Order
No
thing.
such thing as a friendly amendment.
Right, but I think that's where people get confused about having the maker and seconder of the original motion agree with some amendment on the floor. Under Robert's Rules, an amendment is its own motion.
And we'll still be voting on this amendment to see if it passes or not. This is just open for discussion now. There was first and second, so it'll still go on a vote to see if this motion passes. If it doesn't pass, and then we move on without the amendment. If it does pass, and then if we have another amendment, we get to do this whole process over and over again. But like I said, I'm the new guy, so I appreciate your guys' expertise.
Are we voting on the amendment?
Right now, it's open for discussion on the amendment. Right now, we're discussing.
Since
Robert's
the
rules,
amendment is on the floor and has been seconded.
So now it's open for discussion. Until we second it, it can't be, it's not open for discussion. Now it's open for discussion. We can talk about the amendment.
And then the council will take a vote on the amendment.
On the amendment.
Before returning back to discussion and a vote on the original motion.
And the original
with or
ordinance.
without the amendment, depending on if it passes.
We got it.
Also, now that I have the thing in front of me, it was with specific consideration for the proposed sale or lease of the property identified by the Craig Tribal Association, which was the wording that I really liked because I like that we're asking the Planning and Zoning Commission with their scenarios when they do the property as a whole, that there will be a specific consideration, which I'm taking as that they are, when they do the whole thing, it will be designated there for that.
Just because this piece of property has not been subdivided yet, so I believe in our ordinances it needs to be subdivided before we move forward on, and I may be mistaken, but that's talked about in planning and zoning. So that was part of the planning and zoning process, was subdividing the facility to basically talk about utilities and other stuff that's going to go to the structures on there. So without planning and zoning providing subdivided area and areas where there's going to be utilities and so on and so forth, we can't really talk, we can't really move forward with the sale or lease until we have subdivided part. But that was through an ordinance, I believe, that was in planning and zoning on that meeting that we attended. Yes, Mike?
Okay, so we're in discussion. And if I'm going to ask is not appropriate, isn't, we're not supposed to do that, then that's fine. What concern do you have about my proposed amendment? Is there something I can do to address the concern?
I don't like the lease part.
I don't have it. Sorry, go ahead.
The reason that I have that in there is because it's prejudging the project before we have a public process, a full public process. And I think that it's important to, if we shortchange the process, I think that it's going to cause issues. We already know that there's, some really strong feelings about this. I also know we've seen, we have recent history with not listening to our community as a whole with, basically a related project down at the harbor. And it's ended up causing us a lot of grief, a lot of distrust. So all this is just ensuring we have a full public process. I'm not judging any aspect of what should or should not happen other than a process.
I would like to address that. There was a first reading, there was a planning and zoning meeting, and this is the second reading. That's the process that is listed on the website. So the community had plenty of time to come and voice their opinions during any of these three meetings. And people did. There were a lot of people here at the planning and zoning meeting, and, you know, there are a lot of people here tonight. I disagree that we are being hasty when we are following the guidelines that are written on the City of Craig website, that's stating what the process is.
Can I make a comment? I just assumed that Mike put that in there because on our February 8th meeting, which is in our package that they put in, it says, in the light of February 8th meeting, a couple of modifications have been made to the ordinance to allow increased flexibility during negotiations. These changes include change the word sale to sale or lease, which we were here during that, and I feel like if there was a big no on that, then
That was an ask. That, I felt like that was the city planner's opinion.
I don't believe so. I was there, and planning and zoning. I'm sorry.
Assumptions
I'm not, I'm sorry. Anyways, I was just saying that that's why I assumed that it was in there, because our clerk takes notes and our administrator puts our packets together and the clerk puts our packets together, so that's why I assumed that it was in there. They usually don't put things in there if it wasn't agreed upon. Also, it's just
Memo from the city planner, that's not from the clerk.
how is, but it says, yeah, city planner, but she submits it to, Mary, to us, and Mary puts together our packets.
And she made that request, at my request, after discussions with the mayor after the February 8th meeting, that there was enough discussion about the possibility of a lease, that it made sense to include it now rather than not have that option and then 3 months or 4 months from now talk about a lease and have to start the process over again. So adding the word lease in simply gives the flexibility. We've heard some comments about the benefits or problems of a lease from folks tonight, folks on February 8th. Ultimately, this doesn't take sale off the table. It just makes it more flexible. But the change was made at my request to the planner based on conversation with the mayor.
This was added recently. There was conversation in that meeting about the add to lease. I've seen the add to lease on this ordinance tonight, with discussion with this afternoon about it being added to the agenda. It's under the direction of the amendments in the council to amend this ordinance, in this meeting. So it wasn't, but I didn't add the ordinance or the verbiage of in there or sell or lease. It was put in there before this meeting for discussion on this meeting to be in the original ordinance. The original ordinance was for sale. We had that discussion this afternoon about the sale or lease added to it. There's an amendment on there to add it. That amendment will be voted on and moved on. There's still a lot of planning ordinance. There's still a lot of planning and zoning. And I'll there was 50-50 down the board of sell and lease. I took numbers in that meeting. Jessica did say that she was not against long-term lease, and so that was discussed in that meeting of like $1 a year for 100 years. And you.
And I also said that we can't get any funding.
Yes. So when the lease was talked about, but I mean, but I just want to clarify that the original ordinance was for purchase. It was brought to my attention that was put on there for this meeting. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and then if you guys are having a problem with that wordage for section 3, then you probably want to make an amendment for section 4, because it is also in there saying negotiations of a sale or lease for up to 30,696 square feet of city-owned land. So I just want you guys to be able to be able to make a new amendment if you guys do not like the wordage that's in Mike's thing. And then also you did mention that 3 meetings and postings should be plenty enough for people to comment. But I know that a lot of people have been upset with our Point property and the Harbor property, and that was 18 years of commenting and notifying the public and stuff. So, and people said that they didn't feel like that was enough time or never felt like they had the time to comment. So 3 meetings seems short to me.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is still, this ordinance is still proving the process of the sale of the property. There's still going to be planning meetings, 10 of them coming up, and then, in the future that we have planned through the planning and zoning and the council and the community to discuss how this property is developed. Until this property is subdivided, we can't move forward with the sale of our lease or whatever of this property until that process is over. So we will still be moving forward with the planning process, after however this goes.
So, Mr. Mayor, what is the timeline, or is there a timeline in regards to subdividing the properties?
It sounded more lengthy as the meetings went with the size of the lot. That is why I suggested in that meeting that if we were able to go with a lot that was wasn't running through presentable right-of-ways through the middle of the lot where there are potential roundabouts where utilities will be going. I asked if we'd be able to streamline it quicker and then move forward with, looking at other land down the road so we could get this process going a little bit quicker, rather than there was a plot on there that was about 12,360 some square feet compared to the 36,000 square feet on the planning, and it was where it was already located on the map that had been talked about 3 years ago. And that was, I felt like, I may be wrong, but I felt like the utilities weren't going to intervene with that location and we'd be able to move on forward with planning and, but that was just a suggestion throughout the meeting. But that's where that came from with the subdividing, and it's going to take time to figure out where all the utilities are going to go, so on and so forth. Yes, Mike?
Yeah, I would imagine you can't really get into laying out plots until you've had some kind of a process to try to determine how the layout of the land would, potentially be. It's a bit of a process.
It's a huge process. They've been working on it for several years with the people who have been looking at this development. So it is a big process. There's a lot of meetings that are going to take place in a short period of time. But if there's other ways, ideas are presented, sizes in order to be able to move forward a little bit quicker and then look at other, areas potentially. That's just a suggestion. It's a negotiation at this point in time, I guess I'd call it. So, however we move forward, I just want it to be a positive venture. Are we done discussing the ideas? There's no more discussion. Vote on the amendment order 767 that you had, what Michael had presented to the council.
Should be by roll call, Mr. Mayor.
And this will be by roll call.
Anna President?
No.
Shauna Thomas?
No.
Josh Bennett?
No.
Mike Kivich?
Yes.
Chanel McKinley?
Yes.
Millie Schoonover?
No.
4-2, no.
So we're back to the original motion.
Back to the original motion.
I will, just for clarity's sake, Chanel is correct. We did add lease to the ordinance, so if the council wants to remove lease completely from the ordinance, an amendment to remove that throughout the ordinance would be appropriate.
And I wasn't at that last meeting. I was on a visit with my brother.
So we're in discussion, quick?
We're in discussion of the original ordinance.
Lost my train of thought here. This is just giving negotiation for sale or lease. You know, it's up to the buyer and the seller.
And it's ultimately, you know, what the community had talked about in the discussion. There was a community involved. Like I said, it was 50-50. I took, you know, took, you know, hash marks. There was not one person against it, and I was really proud of that. But listening to the community, it was, you know, 50-50 on sell and lease, and that, you know, I mean, it's not saying that it's going to be a sell or a lease. It's just putting it up there for discussion in the future planning of the site.
The only thing I have to do with the lease is the CTA is offering to purchase the property, right? By allowing this to say lease, you're wasting everybody's time with the lease subject. And if we just erase lease and we move forward with the sale, then regardless of what happens, at least we're not wasting anybody's time, and there might not be a monetary, you know, value that comes to agreement between the two parties, but at least we're not wasting time by saying lease at this moment.
Yeah, because it sounds like that's not what they want. with what
Yeah,
want to do.
they want to buy.
That's how I feel about it.
Would it be appropriate to ask if we did move forward with the lease, would you be opposed to putting a longhouse and carbon shed on there, Mr. Clinton?
Absolutely not. I filled out the proper forms within the city of Craig.
Yeah.
Followed the protocol
Okay.
for the purchase
of
a piece of property.
Okay.
And since you're giving me the floor,
Yeah.
I would like to also say, this is a unique piece of property. It should have an organizational tie to it. Not many organizations should be able to come to you as a body and say, this is what we want to do. I'd like to think if a charter company came in and said, hey, now we want Cookie Band's place. That shouldn't be that way. This is a very organized organization that wants to do something here, and we intend to do it. That's why I want to pursue the sale. It's unfortunate that I had to go to great lengths to find what I had to on the website, to find even what area to buy. I might have overstretched the boundary towards the road more. That's negotiable, you know, where the existing road goes down. But I had nothing to go on provided by the city of Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, and the whole issue has been stated before is funding. If the city decides on lease, like you say, the project is a no-go. It's not possible. We can't get funding for a leased property. So that's like saying no to us. So a sale is our only option for the long run.
Absolutely, and I recommend that everybody shows up to these planning meetings in the future, because that was brought up by the planners as well. It was like, is it going to be a no because they can't get the funding to build it? And so that was brought into those meetings. All that stuff was talked about in a positive light of, well, maybe it's more beneficial for the city to sell it to them rather than for the people with the lease. So having these open meetings and discussion in the future is great, because there was like, yes, it is going to be a financial downfall for us not to be able to purchase the property, because we're not going to be able to get the funds to build it like we want and what needs to be presented in the facilities. With that all being said, we'll.
Should I make one more?
Yes.
I really like that they suggested sale or lease, and that you were keeping tally about the thing, because when I was at the meeting as well, I felt that both sides were brought up multiple times. And like I said, as a council, we should take all the comments from our residents of Craig and be able to weigh the options beneficially and then make a better decision. Where this isn't saying that if we go forward with this ordinance that we're just going straight to lease. It's just a negotiation where it's not also, I mean, if you guys sit down and you're like, okay, this is our negotiation of a lease, and they're like, no, we'd rather not proceed at all, then negotiate a lease, then you move on to sale. This is just saying that there is the option of negotiating that. And I like that because, as we said before, we're not seeing a one side or the other of all sale or all lease. It's very, people have both good options on why we should do both, and I think that it should be discussed for the residents of Craig, just to be able to feel like everyone's being heard properly.
But what it's, you know, is it's a lot easier to say yes than no. You know, it feels a lot better. And if at some point in time it gets rejected as a purchase, you know, and we do a 50-year, 100-year lease for $1 a year, and funds could be available down the road, then I understand, but I mean, then something has, you know, we haven't wasted a lot of time to renegotiate down the road. But I'm non-biased on this. It's under the direction of the council on how the ordinance wants to be stated. It's just hearing the, like Chanel said, here in the community. It's yeah, one way or another, I would like to see something happen down there, you know, in cultural significance, however it's
Mr. Mayor, I feel, you know, I can't help but think of the 14C3 lands. This is no different than when the city has sold 14C3 lands, and this should be treated the same way. It was city property, it got sold. This is no different. The positive side of this is it's going to bring back culture, not only for the indigenous people, but for everyone.
Mr. Mayor, we're gonna be here all night.
Yeah.
So.
Planned on that already.
I'd like to move a motion of amend and strike all lease from this ordinance 768, so that we're not wasting any more time here. And that the council, when the administrator is just negotiating, that it's straight to the point. This isn't a sale, this is a negotiation paper. That it's straight to the point, and we can move forward when it comes up if there's.
Okay, so we got a first, we got a second. If we are done discussing the motion, we can take a vote on that, a roll call vote.
Hannah Bazinet?
Yes.
Shauna Thomas?
Yes.
Josh Bennett?
Yes.
Michael Kivnich?
I'll say yes. I think that we're taking away from process, even with a strong interest in seeing this project happen.
Chanel McKinley?
Yes.
Millie Schoonover?
Yes.
Passes.
Now the motion.
Now the motion.
Motion as amended. So now the motion includes the ordinance without the word lease in it.
Yeah. So now the ordinance is amended without the word lease and only purchasing. So any discussion on anything else on the ordinance as presented to you?
Call for the question.
Motion for
Well, the motion's already on the table, she's calling for.
all right, we have a vote for all those, roll call vote, please.
Hannah Bazinet?
Yes.
Shauna Thomas?
Yes.
Josh Bennett?
Yes.
Michael Kivnich?
Yes.
Chanel McKinley?
Yes.
Millie Schoonover?
Yes.
Unanimous, passes.
Thank
All
you.
right. Moving on to the new business. For the MOU agreement between the city of Craig and the Fish Federal Association.
Mr. Mayor, I just once again see, I don't see an actual MOU, I just see another 2 examples, I think.
Yes,
Or 2 examples.
yeah, so this will, if we pass the motion, then we will start working on drafting our own MOU in between the CTA. These were examples that you were able to look at and see what kind of format you would like to see. And like I said before, I'd like to keep the CTA involved in the MOU, the process of the MOU. So, this is a motion for us to start working on the MOU agreement in between the CTA. It hasn't actually been agreed upon by the council to actually move forward with the amendment of our clarifier.
Okay. I would like to see that hopefully that we can get an MOU that we can just fill in the blanks when we want to do business with other entities. You know, if we want to move and have corporations, not in with the CTA and MOU, just have one readily available where we can start, instead of going through the process every time of agreeing on an MOU, that there's an MOU form ready to go, so we can start business with Joaquinia.
Yep, this is, basically just giving the staff guidance on how the MOU would like to be formatted. Yeah, I would love to have MOUs with more people in the community and get all the gates taken down. It'd be great. But this is a motion to, I've already started discussion on it.
Just direction.
Yeah, right.
Direction.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we were given 2 examples, and the one that I thought was straight and to the point was the Sitka one, and I don't have it in front of me.
It's on the back. See the back? It's on the back.
Oh, no wonder. Okay.
I agree with you, Ellie.
I would just want it to say that none of these are non-binding agreements with both entities. You know, it's basically a discussion.
That's just saying that you're gonna work collaboratively in your communities in order, you got projects that are coming up, you're gonna take planning, you're gonna do business off to the side that doesn't have to do with each other, but it's just saying that, hey, we're gonna collaboratively work together and get us, planning is the key, and funds, when funds come available, we can work together and show collaboration in the community.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion.
Well, Mike's got a question.
I was just gonna say, I agree I like the format of the Sitka one. I would lean towards something similar to that.
And we're not looking for a motion tonight. It sounds like if the consensus is that the first example is kind of what the council likes. If there's anything in it the council doesn't like, or things need to be added.
Because we've been talking about this for how many meetings?
Yeah, I thought we were doing a motion to move forward on it, so I was, so if we were gonna move forward with it after this without a roll call vote, then.
If there's a consensus that the council likes the agreement between the city and tribe of the Sitka
There's
tribe.
no motion that needs to be made on this is a discussion.
We'll bring, we'll put this back in, format it for the city of Craig and bring it to the next council.
Perfect. We have decision on 6 to 1, so moving forward, budget committee selection FY 25.
Yes. Are you gonna have, say in what MOU are you gonna work with us or come?
We're gonna do the second, we're looking at the second one, but we are definitely gonna go back and forth, and that way we can get it, and that's what I suggested this whole time was getting together with you guys and creating this together. And then we'll be shooting stuff back and forth and get this process started, so.
So I'll amend my earlier statement. I'll draft this up and send it to the tribe for review.
Yeah. Yes.
And eventually bring it back to the council.
Yeah, sorry, Chanel. Hannah was hot. I didn't know you were
I know
cold.
that we have to vote on things, so everyone is voting, open the door.
Thank you. All right.
What are the times for the meeting?
It's really to the budget committee. Generally, in the past, we've held them at 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoons, once a week, but there's nothing nothing that sets the time or the day of the
It
meeting.
just depends, everybody agrees,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
yeah.
I can do anything after 4:35. I'm not saying I want to be on the committee, but if it's anyone's flexible with that time, I can be there.
Yeah, we can do whatever time the council wants to.
Basketball season's almost over.
We're not gonna have nothing else to do.
It's generally helpful to have 4 council members on the budget committee. So is that a volunteer, Josh, if we schedule?
If it's an appropriate time, I will be there.
I would be interested in being on the budget committee.
Okay.
I would like to, I will be, I have to leave again for a while, so I may not make all of them, but for the ones that I can make, I would like to participate.
Absolutely, that's what's,
You're an eye opener, Mike. I enjoy it. Frustrating.
Is Tuesday generally a good day if we do it at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, I like I said, I will work to be there unless I'm in one of the northern communities doing something for that. I don't want to.
Any other council members have a problem with Tuesdays? Okay, Kimber, so we've got Josh,
Yep.
Shauna, Millie, and Mike.
Millie, has meetings on Tuesdays, so.
Do you,
Wednesdays
Millie?
work better, sorry.
Oh, that's right, we do. Second Tuesday of the month.
Sorry, Wednesday.
Does anybody have objections to Wednesdays? Okay, the only exception to that will be the March 13th. So we may have to ask about that one, because March 13th, we have a scheduled workshop with the school board.
Oh, yeah.
That's budget related anyways.
Which, yeah, again.
We'll probably need to do that workshop before we even start, so.
And that was the request that we had, was to have the discussion with the, before we started, I mean, for our budget process and start any time, but before we finalize the budget is to move forward with the.
But the budget meeting, this budget meeting on March 13th is not the usual budget meeting that we have with the school district, where we talk about what the contribution is going to be.
Right.
So we still won't have that information when the budget committee starts.
Okay, can you repeat
So-
the day one more time?
Can we do-
Wednesdays, 5 o'clock, starting,
The 6th?
March 6th?
well, March, on our schedule, March 11th, I think is the
And you're gonna be gone too,
beginning, but
Shauna.
that week is the 13th.
Not that week, but regionals, I'm gonna be gone that week, but, yeah.
Okay, we'll send out,
Email.
we'll send out an email.
Okay.
We can coordinate.
And when we do
figure out
March
the
11th,
dates.
Monday?
I don't think, there's no
You know,
reason not to.
just to squeeze one in before everyone just
That's
I
disappears.
will be here Monday.
Because it doesn't have to be the same day every week.
Okay, yeah.
I'll leave it to Kimber to communicate with the
Okay.
council members on the budget committee
Yeah,
to do that.
and we can call in, right?
Sure.
If
I
we
don't
get
see why
our
not.
books ahead of time, yeah.
Right.
So I leave on March 18th, I'll be gone for 2 to 3 weeks. If, if it's at all possible to start this process where I could attend 2 meetings before I leave, that would give me a good feel for, kind of how things are starting to line up.
Okay.
If, I said if.
Are we opposed to this,
leave it
or
to
next
Kimber.
Wednesday?
Well, the
Yeah,
problem
we
is
sure are
there's
meetings.
no budget for the
Right.
committee to review
Oh,
until we finish our meetings with the departments and
Right.
draft budget, right?
Oh.
Normally, the budget committee does not meet until we have a draft budget ready for the committee to review. And so we're just starting our meetings next week with the department heads.
can we do Wednesday, March 27th?
I'm sure. I'll let Kimber send us.
Yeah, I'll send an email or something out,
Some
and we can all
emails out,
coordinate and
see if
see
we
what works
can't
for
work
everybody,
through that
rather than
process.
trying to
Yeah.
How long are you gonna be gone?
think about it.
2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been through the process, 18 years I went through the process, so if we're gonna shortchange the process for the department heads, then don't make it quick for me.
No, I don't want to do it any earlier than March 11th. That's the schedule that we have.
Right on.
If we did the 11th and the 17th, I could be,
11th and the 15th. 17th is Sunday.
11th and 15th would work, if that's general, out into 4 days then, so let's just plan on one, I don't wanna disrupt things.
I'll leave it to Kimber to send some emails out.
Okay, I'm fine with one.
Okay.
What's more fun than budget committee on Friday night?
With the school mixed in.
We don't want you to miss out on that.
All the fun, yeah. We're not gonna keep all the fun to ourselves. I promise. Thank you, council.
All right, moving forward, the appropriation of general funds for fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 audits.
Move to appropriate of $70,000 from the general fund to complete fiscal year 2022 and 2023 audit.
Second.
All those in favor?
Sorry.
Wait, it's money.
Yeah.
Roll call vote. Roll call
vote.
vote. Roll call
Roll call vote.
Thank you. Thank you. You are correct.
Money, money, money.
Hannah Bazinet,
Yes.
Shawna Thomas,
Yes.
Josh Bennett,
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
How long does it take them to do this audit?
They're gonna, well,
I'm in the wrong business. is what I'm trying to-
traditionally, and it's taken months,
Oh,
right,
okay.
with our old auditor.
A couple weeks, I'm in the wrong business.
These guys will be here for a short period of time to do the field work.
We'll be here the
And
week of
then-
April 22nd.
And then they go back and it takes them a while. They are going to try and fast track. We're way behind on the FY '22 audit because we had our auditor resign on us right about the time that she was supposed to start the audit. And it's taken us a while to get the RFP out and select an auditor and get a contract in place.
I'm actually excited to see what a new auditor says.
Yeah.
We've had the same one for so long. Not that-
35 years.
Yeah,
yeah.
like, not that it was a bad thing or anything, but I'm just
Right.
curious.
Yes, yeah. I will say, I hope they're better, but I ran into somebody on a cruise ship in Mexico, sitting beside them at dinner one night. My wife and I were talking. They said, "Oh, you're from Alaska." So we started talking. And they're from an audit firm in Anchorage. And so we said, "Oh, we just had to pick a new auditor." And we picked these guys. And we go,
Oh.
But no, these guys, everybody that we've talked to, they enjoy working with them. I'm also excited to see Hannah from the new auditor's perspective, so. Yeah, that would be great for a week's work.
Yeah. Agree.
All
I'll do it next year.
Yeah, all you gotta do is get your CPA.
You don't want those demons in your belly.
Two customers.
I actually took accounting class until the last quarter and I was like, never doing that in my life, not sitting at
To
a
be an
desk doing
auditor,
accounting.
you
And I was
have
like,
to, you
I
have
don't
to
even
be
care if I
a,
get that degree. I'm like,
and it's not just a degree, you have to be a CPA,
Yeah,
which is
right.
like close to being a PhD in accounting,
Yes,
right?
yes, way too much sitting at a desk for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Ooh.
Only class I almost failed in college was an accounting class. Thank you, council.
All right, move forward to Craig Medical Director.
Good news.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Move to accept Dr. Joseph Livengood, is that how you say it?
I think so.
As the medical director and direct staff to complete all paperwork necessary with the state of Alaska and to execute an agreement with Dr. Livengood for his services.
Second. It's a good doctor name.
Mr. Mayor, is this just like, is it gonna be a negotiation?
Not really. Basically, he's already agreed to be our medical director. He is asking for $1,000 a month stipend, which we haven't done before. I think that's a reasonable ask.
That's what I was gonna ask next. What was the previous, last January, what were they getting? We'll call them.
They did not ask for a stipend. We put money in the
You got
budget
this
each
now?
year. Some other things, but it's common for medical directors for the communities to help pay for malpractice insurance or give some sort of stipend.
What information you gave last time with having this, a director on board is highly beneficial.
Yes. Oh, yeah, really is. This is a great and long overdue. Props to Vanessa for finding us a medical director who would agree, so.
Yeah.
I think it's been moved and seconded, yeah. I think we're just looking for a vote.
Move forward to the roll call vote.
Hannah Bazinet,
Yes.
Shawna Thomas,
Yes.
Josh Bennett,
Yes.
Michael Campbell,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover.
Yes.
Unanimous, it passes.
There's a motion at the bottom of the memo to move into executive session.
I had a few council comments before we do that. Sorry, if this is the appropriate time.
Or we can do it after, yeah.
Oh, after? Oh, okay,
If you
sorry.
want to do it now, Sean.
Oh.
Executive
I didn't know
sessions
what I was
always
gonna
make
say.
yeah, they always kind of
Yeah, I
mess
mean,
up the process.
Go into the,
If there's no objection to doing council comments now,
Comments
that's
kind of at
fine.
the conclusion of our normal
Yeah.
meeting, there's that a couple too.
absolutely, perfect, go ahead, Shauna.
Does it need to be a motion to go into comments?
I don't know if we have formally requested to ask Vanessa to meet with the council about the daycare. So I didn't know what the process was. It just kind of, it feels like it just kind of,
Didn't happen.
it didn't happen. So I didn't know if I didn't ask, I mean, I thought I asked for a formal.
I thought we did.
So I didn't know of why that went away.
And I really can't answer that. I think those requests were made while I was gone. And so
Okay.
I don't know if they were interpreted as, you know, it's important very often, council members individually saying, I would like, or I think are difficult for staff members to answer every one of those. And so I don't know what the council's, as a council's general direction was. I have been working with Vanessa on issues related to the daycare. And the mayor and I talked this afternoon. So I'm happy to schedule a meeting for her to come in to meet with the council, either at a council meeting or a separate meeting.
Well, I think it needs to be a separate meeting. Since I've been here, she hasn't been present.
And I will say, it's difficult for her. She lives in Nockey. Driving at night, especially through the winter, has been something that she's been avoiding. And so I've given her permission to generally leave while it's still daylight. And so it may be an earlier meeting to accommodate that, or wait until it's light a little longer.
Do you know where she's at on the fire marshal review?
So there's still some back and forth regarding the license overall. It doesn't the fire marshal will come into play, but it doesn't appear that the license application is to the point where the fire marshal approval would, right. So I don't think it, and I'm sorry if I give an incorrect answer. I had one conversation with the licensing folks last week and a separate conversation with Vanessa. It's my plan next week to sit down on a phone call with all three of us having the same conversation. But my understanding right now is that there's some problems getting information back and forth. Vanessa's it doesn't feel like she's gotten good, clear direction from the licensing folks on what they need. The licensing folks are missing some things in the license application. And so I'm hoping to kind of bridge the gap and get both of them on the same page. And so the fire marshal will get involved, but the fire marshal normally doesn't get involved until the license process reaches a certain point.
Right.
Didn't Judy, right? Is that her name, with the licensing?
I talked to her supervisor, actually.
Doesn't it, I think she stated that she could come down and do her inspection in-house, yeah.
And I don't know what her inspection includes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if they're serving food, there's DEC inspections involved. Fire marshal has inspections. I would guess that the daycare licensing folks have to do their own inspection of the facility. But I don't know what all inspections are, so I don't know what Judy was referring to.
I just know that I think it's a big priority for all of us to get the thing on board. And it's hard when you see Thorn Bay move forward by the snap of their fingers. And they got an up and running facility within, I think, a month or 3, you know, it's going.
I have another comment. In Chief Ely's last monthly report,
he said that Adam Parsons did not complete the police academy training.
Correct.
And I just wanted to get an update on what happens next. Is Adam Parsons still working for the Craig PD?
Yes. So the process, for whatever reason, that a candidate is forced to leave the academy before it's over is up to the department. And the department makes a determination on whether or not the officer is going to be able to go to the academy moving forward or not. And so we're kind of still waiting on some outside information to see what the long-term prospect is for Mr. Parsons. But he is allowed to continue to work for the Craig Police Department under the Alaska Police Standards Council. He basically has a year before he has to complete the academy. And so the plan right now is likely to send him in August,
Oh, okay, thanks.
provided that he's back in shape to go.
Okay. I have more. A few meetings ago, we talked about the swim team and the fees that they have been paying for the pool use and for their coach. We did request someone to look into that if we are supposed to be donating that or not.
Well, I'll answer that question easily. The impression that we were not charging them anything appears to be a misunderstanding by whoever made the statements at the council meeting. Our intent last year, they've been paying about $500 a month, I think, for years. Last year, at the request of the pool, we were going to increase the rate to $780 a month. But after discussions with the budget committee and with the wave runners themselves, and the fact that we did not have an employee who could act as a swim coach, we agreed with the swim club to reduce the monthly fee to $250 a month or $200 a month, whatever it was. So that was the agreement that was approved, and that's what they've been paying. In the end, we donate about $37,000 worth of pool time over the course of the 8-month season. The $250 a month or $200 a month, whatever it is, it gives them skin in the game. They were very happy with the reduced amount because since we didn't have a coach that was a city employee, they were able to use the difference, the $500 difference, to pay a stipend to a local person who is coaching. Of course, that will change this year. The new aquatic center director is scheduled to be here sometime late mid-March, and she will take on coaching duties as well. So, but no, the agreement last year, there was a payment in the agreement. The swim club was happy with the payment. The city was satisfied with it. It shows them as a separate entity, which I think is helpful for their USA Swimming insurance and a number of other things. And it's still $250 a month over 8 months compared to about $38,000 in pool time.
Right.
They think it's a great deal.
No, that was
So
just
we-
an unanswered question that I had on my notes. And then I just wanted to say, you know, it was a great job for you and your staff to be able to put our meetings back on YouTube. I saw a couple of the Facebook posts asking community members to subscribe to it, so
Yes.
that was really nice. So just wanted to thank you and your staff for that.
YouTube surprised us. They changed the policy, so they wouldn't let us live stream unless we had 50 followers. And knock on wood, we think that this machine will work, but we've had other attempts before where it's worked in practice very well, and then nobody could understand the meeting. So everybody go home tonight and listen to the whole meeting on YouTube, okay?
Is that what that thing is?
Yes, so this is the
I can't wait
microphone.
for something to come out of it.
I know, right? And the microphone,
My cookies and milk.
and the microphone is connected to the iPad that's on the back wall by Bluetooth. And so the iPad is actually streaming it on YouTube.
Oh, it's good, because then everyone, before you could either hear the people in the gallery, but then you couldn't hear anybody else.
Well, and that still may happen.
Yeah.
That's the problem with one microphone. We've never found one microphone that would pick up the whole room.
When I did the
when I did
But-
the sound check, I walked around the
Yeah.
entire room
Yes.
and then watched the live. And it
So-
picked up perfectly wherever it was, so,
We've tested it. In tests, it works great.
yeah.
We'll see in reality after the meeting tonight.
There's no comments, right?
No.
Oh, good. That's perfect.
No, YouTube, the advantage of YouTube is it allows us to turn off the chat and comment feature right from the beginning of the stream.
I do too.
I think you were on the council when we went from Facebook to YouTube for that very reason.
Oh my God, I used to love to read the Facebook comments. When we get done at the meeting, I'd be like, yeah.
Don't ever read the comments.
Oh my
That's
God, I
all
love
have
it,
to say.
especially the ones that you're like, okay, if you were listening at all,
I know.
we addressed this, so I'm like,
Right.
thumbs up to that one.
Yes, it's perfect time for tongue-in-cheek comments.
So thanks to Johnny Rice, we still were kind of flailing around, and Johnny walked in one day with this machine and said, I think this will work. And so, you know, I've got my fingers crossed. Like Mary said, she's tested it out thoroughly, so I've got high hopes that it works. But thank Johnny if you see him. In fact, this is his microphone. We've ordered one identical to it, but he's loaning us this one to make sure it works. And I traded, all of the tribal households, did you fill out the housing survey that just came out? So I even got one subscriber by trading. Melanie Scheimans in Juneau a couple of weeks ago said, Brian, I don't remember how many more she needed. I need 10 more tribal households to fill out the survey. So I sent it to Mary and I looked at Melanie and I said, we need 5 more subscribers to our YouTube channel. And so she went and subscribed. So that's one of them.
Nice.
So now we're up to 10,000 prescribers.
I think at least 100, right? 70, so we're close. I'm glad to get the function back. It's
Perfect.
That's great.
Really good.
Thank you.
yeah.
Now the kids can see me, hi kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Did it hold that attention
Go
span
ahead.
for that long?
Yeah, this is 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, my comment is, so I was gone and I forgot to do some of my due diligence on paying my bills. And I got a prompt letter that I had not paid my sales tax. So I paid my sales tax when I got back and I paid my penalty and I was glad to see that there was a very prompt letter.
Yes.
That's the way it should be.
Nice.
And I'll forget again in a couple of months.
And trust me, Mike, you will be promptly reminded.
It's been a long, I don't know if I've ever got a notice that I was late, and I've been late a few times. So it was refreshing to see that
A process.
it's prompt, that's right.
And Sergio did a really good job this quarter. I think this was his first
Yeah. it was
quarter,
the first
right?
one.
Yep.
But really, hats off to Rebecca, who had some mojo to get people to pay, and one of those was making sure, within a day or two of those being due, letters went out.
Well, I appreciated the call from him first, telling me like, hey, just so you know, your payment is coming up. And I'm like, I really appreciate that because I did not like those mean letters telling me that all these things.
I think the only comment I have is I hope that when we go for the budget this year, that everyone that works under Oliver is 24/7 in high vis. Most of the guys are in dark clothing while they're on the street.
I'll talk to Oliver about it.
You know, and then we can provide a vest. You can buy a box of vesties, grab it as they go.
They probably have them.
I thought I think they all do. That's generally a priority.
Or,
down there.
or, you know, Craig's shirt that's a high vis, you know, or sweater or whatever, that they're protected.
I'll get with Oliver.
I thought you were talking about
No, because that's
the
what
meeting that we have with the school board, and I'm like, Oliver's on the board, and why do we have to watch him? And where are these men in black? Like, what kind of meeting are we going to?
I'll wear pink.
I know, I'm like, wait till you see the bar top, it's so shiny. Like flower cord poly.
I don't want anybody running into me.
No.
I
Good job.
did have a comment. I know that we've been talking about like having a new firehouse or a police station soon. Anyways, my dad has a very old fire truck on his property. It has a cracked manifold, but it has all the original tubing and knobs on it from when they used it as a fire truck before. So I didn't know if the city would be interested in receiving that as a donation or a gift. But if you guys want to discuss it, if not, I'll ask Cloak or Sunday or whoever. But it's a pretty cool thing, and if the manifold wasn't cracked, it would be even better. And I thought we had a manifold for it at one time.
Oh.
It might still be there. I found some interesting things.
I'd like to talk to you about that. I think that would be great. The fire hall's still a few years out, but
Yeah, I just brought
I think that's
a
great.
4-foot model set of the SS Bismarck to the school, like, here you go. I'm pretty
Your
sure
dad had
your
quite the
history
taste.
teacher is gonna love this.
Very good. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
My comment, Mr. Mayor, is we need new chairs. These have been here when I got on in 1990. They were old then.
I
We
was,
need new
I was thinking
chairs.
about switching out something. I was really plotting on it because I constantly sink. And I'm like,
Is that why my chair's always different?
No,
Every time I come here, my chair's different.
I was sitting
You guys like this style, or you want us to get like the mesh ones, or what's the preference?
Can I get one of those ones that have the medicine ball in it? I want a massage chair.
Okay,
I mean, if you're
scratch
making
that
a
question.
request.
We'll get new chairs.
This is comfortable. This camera stays up.
We'll get new chairs. Yours will be first, no?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Mary, you're gonna have to.
You should just
Now that
say
everybody's
it.
leaving, I can finally lean back in the thing without falling over.
Are we good? I'll move into, you guys ready?
Can we take a 2-minute break before we move into
It'd be-
executive session?
Well, if we move into executive session, it'll take us a few
Okay.
minutes to clear out, close the doors, and so on.
I move to convene an executive session of the Craig City Council to discuss matters the immediate knowledge of which by law, municipal charter, or ordinance are required to be confidential, to discuss personal matters related to the valuation and contract of the city administrator.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Kimber, thank you, Sam. Okay, take 5. Go, Chanel, go.
I gotta get water, it's so hot. Is there water here? Yes.
Yeah, there's glasses and water right there. There might even be ice in the ice maker if you.
I didn't hear it. So.
I would like
Yeah.
to.
I always turn it
I
off
unplugged
before
it.
I know, right?
First time I heard that, I'm like, what is that?
It's nice to have the ice. but
No,
you
yeah.
don't
It's
really like
actually
it.
loud on the phone too.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. I know, it's obnoxious.
So, yeah, you can go ahead and turn that off. Did we hang up already?
Hey, that's one of the things that if you could find out